In this video, I want to talk to you about inequality in the world. I don't know if you're aware, but 1% of the people in the world hold 50% of the wealth, and 10% of the people in the world hold 85% of the wealth in the world. And this is a situation that has been apparent for a very long time. Vast inequality has existed for a very long time. So how did we allow this to happen? So actually wealth in the world maintained a kind of similar rate and then grew very slowly for a very long time. And then during the Industrial Revolution, things really started to grow and economies started to boom. And capitalism was the best way of maintaining that growth and encouraging it and fostering it and helping people to become less poor and to get out of poverty. But really, it kind of have spiraled out of control, in my opinion, since then. And it is a global issue. And inequality is something that people just seem to accept as inevitable. But is it inevitable, and should we be doing more about it? So when I was younger, I actually felt that communism seemed like the obvious solution to this problem. But when you actually think about it, and having studied economics at university, if you have communism and everyone gets paid the same, it removes the incentive. It removes the incentive for people to actually want to make money and to come up with creative ideas and to take risks and to encourage technological developments. And if you remove that, then society does not move forward at quite the pace that it does at the moment. So, if you can't have everyone paid the same, how do you actually encourage equality? Which, in my opinion, is what we should be trying to move towards. I wouldn't say complete equality, but you do want people, you want a fair society. So, in economics and in politics, you have something called a market failure. So, for example, if you didn't have a government, would private companies pay for lighting in the streets? Probably not, because where is the incentive for that? Where is the profit motive? So, what the government does is it intervenes and it sort of creates the need and the desire to fix those issues and then implements them. So, the government is there to ensure that society has what it needs when private companies can't do that. But the whole debate and the whole of essence of politics is how much should the government intervene, and this is why you have parties like the Conservatives, Labour. This is where you have the Republicans and the Democrats in America, and that's really the central issue of government. How much should the government do? How much should it invest? And how much should we just let companies and people live their lives? Now, in the 80s, we had something called the trickle-down effect, which I think is indisputable as a theory. Of course, it does happen. So that is where when really wealthy companies hire lots of people, of course, they bring those people out of poverty by paying them. Okay, so capitalism actually helps people get out of poverty. But I dispute the fact that it really is the best thing for poor people. Okay, of course it helps, and you do want companies to be doing well. But actually, the quickest and the best way to get people out of poverty is through government intervention. So I do think capitalism is still the best system that we have, but what we saw in sort of New Labour was in the 90s and the noughties was still capitalism, but actually redistribution of wealth. So you can tax people and you can try redistribute that wealth to those that need it most. And more recently, we've seen amazing people like Marcus Rashford standing up for children and for people in poverty. But do the political parties in the UK do enough? And I think since 2010, they've just not been. And to be honest, and our Labour aren't perfect either, and obviously no government is perfect. But what we should be doing is working within the system to redistribute wealth more. I mean, one of the first things that Boris Johnson did was impose a new law which removed the 50% rate of income tax for wealthy people. And I could not believe that when I saw that. I mean, I think when you say 1% of people in the world hold 50% of the wealth, we should be taxing them. Because you've got people going to space, spending millions of pounds when we're in a climate crisis and we've got people still in poverty. I know that things are much better than they used to be, but you've still got people who can't feed themselves, who are really, really poor, and especially in developing countries like India and other countries around the world with vast populations, and a lot of them are just not living in the same way that we're used to. So I do think that we need to be doing more, and I think that the fact that current politicians in the UK, they just get ridiculed by the media constantly, and obviously a lot of them do a lot of bad things. There's actually a lot of good politicians out there, and I think it puts people off from actually trying to make a difference because it's scary being out there and putting yourself out there. So what I would encourage you to do is think about the things that I've taught today, and maybe think about voting for a party in the UK that is more progressive and seeks to redistribute wealth, and seeks to look after those people who are in poverty. I just think we should be doing so much more. And of course, you can volunteer, you can do loads to do that, but I think it is an issue that we've don't prioritise. And I think climate change is currently a big thing with COP26, and absolutely that is something we should be prioritising. Is the thing that is most important to me. But I still think we should be doing more to help the most vulnerable in the world.